It's Sunday morning, the weekend of Memorial Day weekend. I've been having a really relaxing time, working at reduced work capacity, but still creating content, of course, like this. I haven't done this show in a little bit, so I wanted to do another one. I have a million and one stories. It's a lot, of course, and this is my Patreon only exclusive series where I tell you stories about me. You get to know me a little bit. Uh, and my last one did really well. My bedwetting one did really well. Snap. So I decided about this. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I was thinking about this. I had a flashback, like soap operas, right? Had a flashback to an incident that happened to me. Wow, at this point, I've been in LA 13 years. That's how this happened. Wow, this happened God longer than this happened in the late 90s. Late 90s? Yeah, it was like early 2000s. It was late 90s. Late 90s, like 98, 99. I remember this happened, yeah, late 90s, so almost 20 years, like 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. I went to a place called Headlines in San Francisco. They had several stores. They had one store in Emeryville, which is across the bay. San Francisco was on a peninsula, across the bay, the East Bay, which back then especially was known as the hood side of the bay. Emeryville is right next to Oakland. Oakland had a worse rap than Emeryville, but Emeryville was known to be a little hood too. But when you cross the Bay Bridge to go over to Oakland, and to kind of connect, because and to connect to the mainland, because I never really realized until recently, I lived on a peninsula. I mean, like it was almost like an island. A peninsula, of course, is three sides that are water, and one side is actual land that it connected to. So there was a couple of times when we were stuck out on it. We couldn't leave because we were literally stuck. I mean, 9/11, we were stuck. They closed the bridges. You can't get out. All the bridges were closed. You couldn't get out. There was no way to get out. But yeah, like literally, if the bridges washed away, we'd be stuck out in, in the water. I never thought that until just now, as I'm talking to you guys. I'm like, this is so wow. I really never thought of it before. Anyway, when you came over the Bay Bridge and you went northeast, you would curve and take 80 to go northeast. And you pad right when you turn, one way was to like Oakland over here, but right over here was Emeryville. And then you go Richmond, then you head towards Sacramento, Napa, Sacramento, Vallejo, all that. But there was right when you turn, next to the freeway was an IKEA, one of the first IKEAs. There's also a shopping plaza. It's all changed now. The last time I drove by there, I was like, wow, all those stores are gone. Except for Lazy Boy. Lazy Boy's still there. But there was right off the freeway was a plaza, an outdoor, huge like mall. And Headlines had a location over there. Now, ironically, all the Black folks worked over there. So funny. Now, I never had to go over there for the most part. I worked at the Headlines had a store in downtown San Francisco on Market Street. That's where I mostly worked. Worked at the Castro location. When I moved up the ranks, they moved me around. When I became a manager, assistant manager, supervisor moved me around when they needed me. So we had one in Seattle. I never once had a location in Seattle. Never been there. They had locations before I got there. One on Polk Street. That was all closed by then. But we had a location in Castro. We had two stores, regular and Castro Women's, which was a smaller store. Then we had one in the marina. It was Ritzy Titsy over down there by the water. That was a smaller store too. Now I went over there a couple of times to help run things. Each store had its own different feel. But most of my time was spent in the downtown store. And then I think Castro was second. But Emeryville was way over there. Like I talked to people over there, or whatever. I just never went over there. One time I had to go cover. It was like something was going on over there. They couldn't get anybody, and I said, "I'll go." I said, "I'll go. Why not?" And this was the one and only time I worked at the Emeryville store. Only once ever. It's the morning, and like I said, it's an outdoor like strip mall basically. It's just big. So you have sidewalks in the front, the doors facing out. And I remember hearing sirens and stuff going on. We weren't sure what was going on, but I was in the store merchandising or whatever. And there's just 2 front doors. And so there's police out there, which is not uncommon, right? Well, what's uncommon was I guess they're trying to catch a suspect. It was a female. And it was me and just one other coworker because we were just there. So it was early. That's why we were short staff. So one coworker was by the register over there, and I was at the door. I was working on a mannequin that was over here, kind of. And I was on a T stand. There's all these retail sayings and things. So I was doing that, and all of a sudden our door was open. A lot of the stores were not open yet either. Because I think it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and some stores went to 11 or something. It was like we were one of the few ones open. And Headlines was we called it a gay mart. I don't know what it was. It was like Kmart mixed with Target, mixed with gay things, mixed with hippie stuff. We sold pop. We sold pop products like bongs and things. But we also sold cards. We had sexual stuff. It was a weird mix of all kinds of stuff. I loved working for them. It was a weird stuff. But I was standing there, and I remember turning. Because we hear commotion, you could hear footsteps, and our doors were inward. So they weren't out. I was thinking, God, they were outward, she would have smacked right into the doors, but they were inward. She runs into the store. She has a gun, and she points it right at me and says, "I will blow his brains out if you don't let me go." So the woman was tall, because she was about 5'8", so she was close, like my mom. So she was close to my height. At that time, I was younger then. I was like 5. I grew after high school. I think it was like 5'10" at the time. I'm 6 feet now, but I was like 5'10". I remember my coworker screamed. I remember I stood there, and the police were behind her. There's 2 cops behind her. She has the gun right here, right at my nose. It's right here. And I remember my whole body froze. It was like a cartoon. Like I remember from top to bottom, I could feel my life just drained right out of me. It was like I got super cold and stiff, which is like, oh my goodness. And I remember her hand was shaking, and she was sweating from running. Her hair was just a mess. They're like, "Put the gun down. Don't shoot." He's like, I will blow his brains. I remember her breath stunk. It smelled like just garbage. And I'm standing there, and I remember I wanted to shit on myself. I'm telling you, on this show, it's a lot. I tell you all kinds of stuff, right? I'm telling you everything. I'm telling you the truth. I want to shit on myself. I was in shock. I know what was going on, kind of. I knew what was going on. I know what a gun is. And I kept thinking to myself, between her and them. Now, I've had guns pulled on me from cops. That's another story. But this is like a straight on, right between the eyes, gun barrel staring at me. And I remember I couldn't breathe. I just stopped breathing. I felt like I just stopped breathing. And I remember standing praying, just going, "Okay, please God, don't let this happen to me." I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. Like talking to her, I couldn't even hear them. Like all of a sudden, it was like Charlie Brown parents, like wah wah wah. I couldn't hear what they were saying. I remember them saying, "Put the gun down, don't do this. Put the gun down, don't do this." And I'm looking at her, and she's looking at me, and she's breathing really heavily. And what if her hand slips and finger slips? She points. And what if they shoot and it misses them, hits me? I remember I almost started to shake, but I feel like I was shaking on the inside, but I couldn't shake on the. I was like, "Don't move, James. Don't move. Don't do anything that'll make her, anything." To be quite honest, I don't know what happened in the next couple of minutes. It felt like a long time. I don't know how long it was, to tell you the truth. But suddenly they had her. The gun was down. She was on the ground, and I stood there. And literally, they're like, "Are you okay, sir? Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay." And I remember they got her. They took my statement, and she's trying to get away. She had done some robberies, trying to get away. And then I remember right after I had to go to the bathroom. And I took a huge dump. Like diarrhea, just shat everywhere. Just all just came out. It was crazy. And I'm telling you, it was one of the scariest experiences of my entire life. That I'll never forget. And I never went back out there again. I had PTSD. I never went back. I'm never gonna. We had to tell the corporation. Everybody's, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They gave me the next. They gave me the next 3 days off paid. They felt so bad. I think they gave me, and the company gave me a bonus. They called it hazard pay. They gave me my next check. I think to keep me quiet. And I don't know what they're doing, but I wasn't going to quit after bus. Oh my God, wrong talking wrong place. Headlines. I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to get headlines. I was like, I don't want. The stipulation was I never go back there ever again. I don't care what the reason is. James Jr. never go back there again. And years later, because I take the train to Sacramento sometimes from San Francisco, one of the stops is Emeryville. I can see that place. It took me about another 10 years before I could actually look at it and not have a reaction. And now, 20 years later, I'm fine. But I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. That was such a scary, scary thing. And one of those things, like in the moment, at any moment, anything can happen. And you don't know you just don't know. It's the scariest thing. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I did do that. And I survived. It wasn't my time to go. I mean, this was my time to go, I guess. Don't know what happened to the chick. I didn't have to testify. I gave my statement. That was it, because it wasn't really about me. And I said, I'll need to press. I mean, the charges were added on to her. I could have went to the trial if I wanted to, but I just didn't. I was like, it's okay, just whatever. It was crazy. So, whew, tough, right? So that's what, yeah. So that's yeah. Oh my God, you guys. It's my life. I've had all kinds of experiences. All kinds. But I'm releasing this on I'm releasing this today. So I thought put it out today, just have it out there. Because it's just, yeah, something for you guys to read during this Memorial Day weekend. Luckily, I'm not a memorial, so I'm okay. But yeah, there's anything can happen. Strange thing can happen. I'm James Lott Jr. Thanks for being a Patreon to myself. I have all kinds of more stories to tell you, more things to share, more songs. All this exclusive stuff is just for you. No one else is seeing this, just you is seeing it. But I'll do more, of course. In this series, it's a lot. I'll see you next time. I love you guys.